So you have a postgraduate diploma of science. So what drew you to nutrition and mental health? And was it a topic you covered a lot during your postgraduate study in science, or did you have to learn a lot about it in order to set up your current clinical study?
So I have always been interested in nutrition, and because my family, we always grew up quite healthy. So my mum, she lived in Spain when she was younger, and she brought because I'm from Germany. I'm German originally, and I moved to New Zealand about 5 years ago. And so my mum, from living in Spain and moving back to Germany, she brought home a lot of like really fresh ingredients and fresh recipes from Spain, and really nice olive oil and avocados and healthy fats and things like that. So growing up, I was always kind of exposed to that. So I always had a little bit of an interest in it just while growing up, and it kind of happened organically. And then when I was in high school, I became really interested in mental health because I took a psychology course in high school, and then I decided I want to study psychology. And during my undergraduate year, or my undergraduate bachelor's degree, I did that overseas in Europe, in Brussels, and I didn't learn anything about the connection between the gut and the brain and mental health and nutrition, really. But then I moved to New Zealand and did my postgraduate diploma, and I found out about Julia's course, the mental health and nutrition course. And I was super intrigued about it because it combined the two things that I have always been really interested in, which is, kind of a healthy eating and also psychology, so and mental health. So I decided to take her course, and I was just blown away by the amount of knowledge she had and the research she's done and all the amazing results she's achieved with her research, and especially the biochemistry, how different foods and nutritional supplements have an effect on the brain. For example, that our brain needs vitamins and minerals to be able to create dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter in our brain that's really important for good mood. So things like that just blew me away. I decided to do my research here. So 2 years ago, I started my research looking at the effect of a vitamin and mineral formula that has been widely studied before, and that Julia has been studying for years and years here at the Mental Health and Nutrition Lab. And I studied that formula and the effect on stress in students. And then I also studied the effect of that same formula on anger and irritability and emotion dysregulation issues in children between 5 and 10 years of age. So so that's what I've been doing.
Well, there's a lot of big words, but I'm pretty sure you're doing a lot with that trial. And how long does it, go until? How many more years is a trial?
Hopefully I'll be finished at the end of next year. So
Okay.
I will collect data for a couple more months, and then I need to write it all up and analyze it, and then hopefully finish my research in about 1.5 years. That's the goal.
Wow. And can I ask you how you came up with the powdered candy? I was reading it up a bit, and I think correct me if I'm wrong, but you use the micronutrient formula in the as
Yeah,
form of
exactly.
candy. Yeah.
So it is the same vitamin and mineral formula that Julia has been testing and that the Mental Health and Nutrition Lab has been testing for a long time, for many, many years. However, the individual doses of the vitamins and minerals in that formula are at a much lower doses than compared to the vitamin and mineral pills that the lab has been testing in past studies. So it's the same formula, but at lower doses, and it comes in form of a powder. So instead of usually in previous research, we've been using micronutrient pills, so vitamin and mineral pills, but in my research, we're using a powder. And this powder is flavored, so it's not candy, but it's flavored. Yeah, it has different. So we have a banana flavor and a nutritional and a tropical punch flavor and a sour berry flavor. And so it doesn't have the usual unpleasant taste and smell that the pills sometimes have, or that the previous nutritional powders have. And yeah, and it comes in powdered pouches, and you just literally put the powder in your mouth and you let it dissolve in your mouth, and you try, you let the vitamins and minerals be absorbed literally by your mouth and the oral mucosa. And then the idea is that instead of the gut, so when you take pills, the gut absorbs the vitamins and minerals, but with this powder, it's your mouth, and there's the mouth has a much shorter route to the brain than the gut. So the idea is that the effect is a bit more immediate. And but yeah, it's the first time we've actually been doing research with this particular product. So we'll see what happens. Yeah.
It's amazing. Do the students take it like every day, or is it like every week?
So with the study that I did with the students, they were asked to take it once a day. And same with the children as well. They need to take it once a day.
Going off of that, you talked about, your childhood and growing up with really good food, and you've always been interested in mental health. So I really like the statement in your Gmail signature, seek after learning for the sake of your well-being. Can you give a little insight on what that statement means to you personally, and how we can all, incorporate that in our lives as well?
Cool. Yeah, I think I really like that question. So I think knowledge is power in a way that when you go deep on something and you learn about something, you can really enhance your life. So for example, learning about the beneficial impact of nutrition on your brain and body that can help you to make healthier choices and learn about healthy alternatives. So I think that many people simply maybe don't know what food is actually really healthy, and not knowingly making unhealthy choices. But if you learn about it, and then you can create healthier habits in your life. So for example, how we can apply it all is, for example, if you have a certain goal, your goal is you would like to eat healthier. And so obviously the first step is to learn, okay, what does a healthy diet actually mean? And so during my studies, I learned about the Mediterranean diet, for example. So there's lots of research out there that shows that the Mediterranean diet is can reduce depressive symptoms. And I didn't know that before I learned about it. So the Mediterranean diet includes foods like so whole foods and omega-3 fats like olive oil or avocado, nuts and seeds, legumes, fruit and vegetables, or fish, and there's research out there showing that when you eat these kind of foods, that helps with your mental health. And I thought that was really interesting. But to be able to do something about it, you need to learn about it first. And this is why I thought the statement fits so well with what I do. And it can be applied to all sorts of goals. If your goal is, for example, to lose weight, so important to educate yourself on, okay, what is a healthy and sustainable way of actually losing weight, instead of just cutting out, cutting your calories significantly, because it's so important to not be afraid of eating, even if you want to lose weight, and just make healthy choices, eating protein, foods that can keep you full, and moving, so you can actually increase your metabolism and lose fat that way, rather than just cutting out calories, because then your body will go into starvation mode and just hold on to all the foods it gets. Your metabolism slows down, and it's not sustainable, and it will actually just not work on the long term, and things like that. It's just so important to know about these things when you have a certain goal in mind. So and yeah, that's why I think it's so important to seek after learning to make good choices and make healthy choices for yourself.
That's amazing. And I think, a lot of us, a lot of times we have goals like, oh, we want to eat healthy, or, we'd like to lose weight. And I actually was going to ask this question later, but I think this goes along really well with what you said. And, a lot of the times there's so many articles out there that are false or misleading. So what are some ways that, especially young people like myself or anyone out there, could access reliable sources when it comes to, the diets or good food in general?
Yeah. So definitely it's so important to always go deep on something you read. So for example, if you read an article and you want to find out a scientific article and you want to find out if that's actually a credible source, there are a few things that you can do. So for example, you can find out if it has been peer reviewed. So that means that there are actually different people in the field that have expertise in this field and that have reviewed this article before it has been published, rather than if it hasn't been peer reviewed, that means that potentially one single person has just reviewed this article before it's been published. So having different people with expertise in the field, having looked at the article makes it much more credible, because more people independently have decided that this is, a good article. You can also look up the qualifications of the authors, look what their background is, do a bit of research so you can kind of judge whether, their background matches with what they're researching and claiming. And you can find out if there are also more than one research article out there stating the same or very similar conclusions, just to see, has the study been replicated, or have more than one research group have researched this? Because when there are different researchers and different articles out there that have found the same or very similar things independently from each other, that makes something also much more credible. And you can also look at the methodology. How was the study set up? For example, there are some study methodologies that are more credible than others. For example, the best one out there is a randomized placebo-controlled trial. So where you have a control group, you try to study something, but you have a control group that either they receive a placebo, maybe of the intervention that you're giving, or they're receiving a different interventions. Or there's something like a waitlist control group, they don't receive any intervention, and you compare the group that receives the intervention with your control group. And this is a really good study methodology. So there are definitely ways out there to, to kind of check how credible the source is. And if you read like something on the media and it claims, hey, there's been studies that have shown this, always go deep on it and just don't take it for face value. But yeah, go really deep on it, figure out what the research actually is, and what it actually claims and what it actually found.
Okay. And for you, like, when reading about nutrition, did you get most of the information from when you were studying about it in school, or was it, your own, journey of figuring out what nutrition was for you?
I think that the biggest thing for me was doing Julia's course in the postgraduate degree and just learning. I learned so much during that course, and I was forced to go really deep on different diets, and I was forced to really, go deep on all the research, and that was just probably the point where my knowledge in this area increased by a lot. And then doing my own research, I used that knowledge that I had from the course, and my research, because my research particularly is about this formula, the vitamin and mineral formula. So I went really deep on all the research that has been done with this particular formula in the past. So I think, through my journey, I learned more about nutritional supplements on top of what I already knew. And with Julie's course, it was a lot of like just diets apart from nutritional supplements as well. So just food as well.
Do you take any supplements yourself, or do you get most of the? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I do. I take omega-3 oil, so you can take that with algae oil or omega-3 fish oil. But for me, it's quite important to choose sustainable supplements. So when I choose a fish oil over algae oil, then I make sure that it's a sustainable source. And then I take collagen and zinc and iron supplement as well. And I switch. So that's what I take at the moment. But in the past, I also took the broad spectrum micronutrient supplements that we've been testing in the past within the mental health and nutrition research group, and I will take them again as well. So I kind of switch it up, but I make sure that I always have in my supplements always various vitamins and minerals available. So not just a single nutrient, but a broad spectrum. So having a wide range of vitamins and minerals in my supplements, and then the omega-3 oil as well.
Okay. And if you don't mind me asking, do you take it every day or do you vary depending on the food you eat that day?
Every day. Yeah,
Okay.
every day. It's just a good addition to, I think, a diet as well, because we don't always receive all the vitamins and minerals from our diets nowadays that we want to. The soil has changed, over the past centuries. It's not always what it used to be. And there's lots of ultra processed foods out there, and even though eating a healthy diet is super important, I like to just step it up a little bit with the supplements on top of it. Yeah. So I made a habit of taking it. I was quite difficult in the beginning, but I got it now. Yeah.
It made me smile when you said ultra processed foods because I first heard about that in the course by Julia Ruckledge. So I think there's a huge misconception between what processed foods are and then what ultra processed foods are. Can you explain a little bit about that and some examples of those?
Yeah, so ultra processed foods is really what you want to avoid in your diet. But I say the word avoid, I say that a bit carefully because I'm personally also a big fan of a balanced approach to well-being. And I think to have a sustainable diet, cutting out foods completely might be difficult and just not sustainable. So however, ultra-processed foods don't do anything good for your body or your brain, and they are foods that have been through multiple processes. So they are modified, and things have been added to them. So for example, it could be soft drinks or any fast foods, fries, hot dogs, burgers, or chocolate and candy and things like that, they have actually been in part of a Western diet. So these kind of foods, they are part of a Western diet, and this diet has actually shown, to increase depressive symptoms and to not be beneficial to mental well-being. So it is really important to really limit those and only eat them on occasion, but don't eat them on a weekly basis or anything like that. And that's a little bit what I said before, is what would be good to eat is all these foods that are classified as a Mediterranean diet. So whole foods, legumes, fruit and vegetables, omega-3 oils, so healthy fats such as nuts and seeds and avocado and olive oil and fish and things like that. Because they actually support your mental well-being compared to those ultra processed foods. But I think it's important also to not overwhelm yourself. So if your diet now includes a lot of ultra processed foods and you want to change that, make sure that you gradually implement things that help you achieve a healthier diet rather than being from one day to the other. No, I will never eat a burger again, or I will never, it's probably not going to be sustainable. Maybe it works, but for me personally, just cutting out, because when I was a teenager, I went through all sorts of diets, and just cutting out foods just never worked for me because I ended up craving them more in the end, and it was just not sustainable. And the minute I kind of understood that and just step by step made gradual changes to my diet, that's when it was sustainable, and that's when I actually cut out most ultra processed foods. And now when I have them, then sometimes I'm like, oh, it's not even that great. You kind of get put off it. That's what I found. Or sometimes you're like, okay, I really enjoy this now, because you don't often have it anymore. So I think there lots of ways to achieve a healthier diet. But I think the key word is sustainability, and be able to on a long-term basis be able to cut out those ultra processed foods to as much as possible.
Yeah. So kind of going off of that, especially for us, in this generation, I think a lot of people are, following fad diets or like, there's a lot of misinformation out there about nutrition. So I know you said you just talked about all those sustainable diet changes you can make. Is there, any other advice or tips you have for not only teenagers, but also adults, who want to make those sustainable diet changes?
Yes, I actually wrote down a few key points that I think are quite important when you want to make sustainable diet changes. And the first one is something that works really well for me is prepping your food. So I make the worst choices always when I'm hungry and I'm out somewhere or I'm at work and I haven't prepared my snacks or my lunches, and then I go to the cafeteria and I buy something and I'm like, oh no. And I think so prepping is a really important part of that. So going to the supermarket in the beginning of the week, or I go on a Sunday, for example. So then on a Monday, my fridge is full with good snacks and, good foods. And then I can have a variety to choose from for lunches, and then have things available for when I get hungry. So I think, prepping is really important. And I know, when you live at home and you might be, if you kind of, you have some boundaries there because maybe you eat what your parents buy, but also maybe having a conversation with your parents and tell them about what you've learned and tell them about what you would like to achieve, and maybe collaborate with them, or maybe say, hey, I would like to cook a meal sometimes, or, or maybe doing your best that works for you within those boundaries at home. And, when you go out and have lunch, maybe at school, making healthier choices there as well. And just those little things that you can do. The other thing is, as I said before, not overwhelming yourself, but gradually implementing little things to be healthier, a little bit healthier every day. And have fun with it and try different recipes and do some cooking, do some baking. And if you maybe haven't cooked before, maybe watch some YouTube videos on, how other people cook, and learn a little bit about it. And it goes back to educating yourself as well, and kind of preparing yourself with the skills that you need to be able to achieve your goal, and educating yourself as well. So for example, Julia just published a book. It's called The Better Brain, and she is talking about how it's really important to for your brain and to eat healthy, and she talks about what kind of foods are good for you, and there are also recipes included in the book. And the book is written for everyone. It's not just for people who have been researching in this area for years and years. It's for everyone. It's really easy to understand, and I think reading books on the topic and educating yourself is really important as well. And I've written down like a few, like an Instagram account that you can follow. There's this girl out there, Pamela Reif, and she has a food account, and she makes really amazing fun like snacks with good ingredients. And I think she has a really creative way of coming up with healthy snacks that are fun to make. And there's also lots of on YouTube. My friend recommended Abby Sharp, Abby's Kitchen. So she does lots of reviews on different diets and things like that, which are really, amazing to watch. So there's lots of resources out there. I think especially now with the internet and everything, that is a fun way of learning about, good nutrition. And Julia also has the lab, the Mental Health and Nutrition Lab, also has an account, and we sometimes post food and recipes on there as well. It's called the UC Mental Health and Nutrition on Instagram. So that is also, something that you can follow maybe, or, if you want to.
And I have one last question. So, you know, I think we've talked a lot about this, but for people, who don't know where to start, when it comes to like weight loss or wanting to eat healthy, is environment, something that could play a factor, or is there anything else they can do, for wanting to eat healthy or losing weight?
I think having maybe learning about like fun snacks that you can take or that you can prepare. So for example, I've written down a few, like for example, you can like cut up carrots and celery and then you can make hummus. So easy to make. There's so many like recipes out there, and you can just make a batch of hummus and just have that on the go. Or you can have nuts and seeds and as a snack, or make nuts and seed crackers in the oven. It's super easy. And I know once in the beginning buying those ingredients once may seem a bit expensive, but on the long run, actually, you can use them over and over again. You can make a huge amount of crackers with it, and that that is really like a really good source of protein and omega-3 fats, and really healthy. And you can pair that with avocado and lemon and some tomato, salt and pepper, and it's like an amazing snack. Or fruit, you can do so much with fruit as well. Like, make it fun, like from that Pamela Rife Instagram, she put out like a little post about like frozen banana sandwiches, where you cut up a banana and then you put like nut butter in the middle, and then you melt some chocolate and you just put it on top and you put it in the freezer, and it's like so yummy. So for the chocolate, you use dark chocolate, because actually 80% chocolate, dark chocolate, or darker chocolate than 80% is really like has a lot of vitamins actually and minerals in it. So that's a good option as well if you have a sweet tooth. And yeah, I think just having a bit of fun with it and not putting too much pressure on yourself either to like change your diet from one day to another, but like have gradual little things that you can implement each day to just enjoy the journey and learn about how good it is for your brain and how good it is for your body. And for example, banana is an amazing example. A banana contains tyrosine, which is needed for dopamine to be created. And so dopamine is really important, like I said before, for mood, or alertness and mental concentration, energy. And learning about that now, when I eat a banana, I'm like, oh, I'm doing something really great for my brain. And it's like, just learning about these things, it can be so fun, and that kind of motivates you as well to maybe make some changes. But yeah, I think the key word is sustainability, and I'm personally not a fan of like diets, and everyone, it's a really personal issue as well. Like some people, they have some personal reasons why they don't want to eat certain foods, and it's completely fine, and that's what works for them. But generally, I think for like losing weight or being healthy, like having a great variety of foods is super important, and not cutting out foods to be able to actually make it last, make your diet change last, is really important. Teenagers, or at least I can talk about myself, thinking back to when I was a teenager, that it's can be quite a difficult time, and you like you go through the motions, and there are a lot of new things that are happening, and there are a lot of changes, and I think it can be a really tough time sometimes, and maybe have resources of nutrition helping you through that can be super helpful.